Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LaBerge Casino. Ronnie Rance, Tommy Chrysan, TK joining us over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, his home away from home, every Wednesday and Friday. We're getting close, TK. We are 1 day away from college football season kicking off tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Lot of topics to get to in the world of football. We'll start locally and we'll start talking about the New Orleans Saints. The Saints made a rare training camp trade.
Well, yeah, really rare because they last Sunday they traded with the team they had just played, and then this week they traded with the team they're going to play tomorrow in the Dome, and it's Sean Payton who coached the Saints to a Super Bowl win. They got a big wide receiver. There was a lot of talk about it. No wide receivers over 6'2". Well, they got 6'5", 210-pound Devon Belly, who was a seventh round pick out of Utah for some future trades, draft picks, which everybody's saying stupid because the Saints are in a rebuild. You don't give away picks. But anyway, that's somebody's opinion. But a rare trade right before this, and I guess it makes the Saints better today. Time will tell. But Saints going to play the Broncos and Sean Payton tomorrow in the Dome. Denver's a 3.5 point favorite if you care about that. And we'll see what happens. And then you got cut down to 53 players. Remember, the NFL used to go down to 75, then down to 53. Now there's going to be like 1,200 guys out of a job come Tuesday afternoon. When all the teams go to 53. So that's the way it goes. Everybody knows it's coming, and a lot of big names going to get cut league wide as they do each and every year.
So Belly, who was a seventh round pick. Oh, by the way, I think that Mickey Loomis is trying to go into his time machine and pull out another Marcus Colston, because that's the comp here, being a late pick and the tall, big body and all that. Obviously, that worked out pretty well as Colston became a Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer. Tell us about Belly's first year with the
Well,
Broncos.
there are 41 catches, 475 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's not bad for a seventh round pick. If you take the names out of the thing
I,
and the team, you get a seventh round guy that does that for you. And then obviously Peyton thinks there's upside. And, but he lets him go to the Saints and they get some draft picks for it. And, it makes the Saints wide receiver room better than it was the day before he walked in there. Time will tell how much that really matters going forward.
Our resident New Orleans Saints expert on Sports Shorts Radio, Joel Davis, loves this decision to bring in this big body receiver. Thinks there's a tremendous amount of upside for him. So Joel Davis, at the moment, giving it a Siskel and Ebert thumbs up. We'll see, a year from now, at the end of the season, how he feels about it. But right now, a thumbs up. I don't think this is one of those trades, Tommy, that's going to pay dividends this year, right? I think this is one of those trades where you're going to have to wait a couple of seasons till you get your team established, your quarterback established. Maybe a couple years from now, after 2 seasons, you can make a decision on this trade. But I like to see, I like the Saints have been very active, and oh, by the way, their trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars was a necessity, right? They needed depth on the offensive line. They had some injuries. They got a guy who can play center, but also can play any of the guard positions. So, hey, it is what it is. He was a higher pick. Didn't have a great year last year, so we'll see if maybe a new change of venue, new coach can spark his career. Um,
But I got a question for you. All right, here we go. First off, we didn't sell each other to wear our Sports Hall of Fame shirts. Okay, that's just, and you have a closet full of shirts. I have a closet, and we both got the same logo. Here's my question for you. You got to make a bet. You ready? I'm blindsiding you with this. But this receiver Belly had 41 catches for the Broncos last year. Over or under for the Saints this year? Does he go over the 41 for the Saints, or is he under the 41 for the Saints? I know what I would bet, but I'm busting you up here.
I'm gonna say over. I'm going to take the over. And here's my rationale of that. Okay. You play 17 games, two catches is 34. That's my Menard High math. Um, he got to average basically 2.5 catches a game to beat this. I think the fact that they traded for him means that they need him and they believe in him, which means they're going to prove that he's worth the trade, right? You're not going to trade for a guy right now at this point and then not play him. So I do think, and I think the Saints are going to be behind in so many games. They're going to be slinging it in the second half, and so they may not win a lot of games, and we both think they won't, but they sure are going to attempt a lot of passes. And so, therefore, garbage time gets them over, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. And they, like you said, they didn't trade for him to run him as a decoy or shuffle plays in and out. I mean,
Right.
so yeah, I agree that he'll go over 41 catches. I'm gonna make a note here. We'll check our math when we get to January to see if we got that correct. Provided he stays healthy and all that good stuff. So, we'll see what happens with the Saints tomorrow, and then sooner or later they got to name a quarterback. I think it's gonna be Rattler. If I had to bet the Coke Zero on it, I'd say it's going to be Rattler, but that's up to Kellen Moore.
Um, Big news in college football yesterday, and it was announced that starting next season in 2026, the SEC will now play 9 conference games instead of 8. Oh, by the way, the Big Ten has been playing 9. Some other conferences play 9. Um, this is a result of the playoff selection committee and obviously Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, is privy to that and those discussions. And basically, I think this is the committee and the decision makers and what they're going to be looking at moving forward, saying, "Hey, you guys need to play 9 games. We're going to weight those conference games heavy, your strength of schedule heavy." And if you're playing 9 tough teams versus 8, no matter if you win that ninth game big or not, we're gonna start holding it against you. And I think this is a result of that.
Well, and the ACC is going to follow and move to 9 games, and then you're going to have the Power Four all with 9, and then sooner or later they're going to separate. But Scott Woodward, LSU AD, made a good point. The fans want this. Okay, the coach might not want this, but the fans who are paying big money to go to an LSU football game,
Right.
tailgate gear, whatever. With all due respect to Southeastern and Nichols and McNeese, who's coming in there next year, they would rather have a Power Four opponent or 9 SEC games. You get that one hiccup, if you will, or paycheck game, whatever you want to call it. So, they really don't care about the fans, but in a way, this says they do care about the fans to put a better thing on the field. And with 12 teams in the playoffs, you can be 9-3 and get in. In the old system, when it was 2 teams, even with 4, 9-3 is not getting in. It's not happening. Okay, but now you're going to have that. If LSU loses to Clemson a week from tomorrow, they still got a great shot at the playoffs. It's still in front of them. They can still control their own destiny. Whereas previous years it was different. And then that's going to keep more fans interested because more teams are going to be bucking for a playoff spot or in contention, kind of like the wild card in MLB. Fans are excited because they might still get to the playoffs where decades ago the season was over, or whatever, So it is what it is. You got to embrace it. Everybody's going to put their TVs on starting tomorrow. There's not a Saturday until February when there's not a college football game. So we'll see.
It's going to be interesting to see how they schedule LSU schedules moving forward because obviously with 9 conference games, that means there'll be some years where you have 5 road games in the conference, and you definitely don't want to select a sixth, and then that means you would have 6 home games and 6 road games. So they're going to probably stagger it to where, all right, the years that we have 5 home games. We got to make sure all of our games are at home versus the years that we don't. Maybe you play a Clemson in Atlanta or something. What do they do with the three non-conference opponents? I think it's going to be interesting to see, do they make the decision to have one of those 3 games be a marquee game like they've been doing. That first game of the year, that second game of the year against another big conference, whether it be in Vegas or Houston or Dallas or Atlanta. Will they do that or will they say, forget that? We got 9 conference games. We're just going to play 3 cupcakes, rental wins.
Well, I think what's going to happen is rental wins are going to become the first game for everybody. Okay, let's get it out of the way because it's about to get tough. You don't need that hiccup in the middle of the season. And LSU, they had one of the articles I read, I believe Scott Rabelais. They've got Utah on the schedule in the future. They got Clemson coming to Baton Rouge next year. You got University of Houston. They open with the year after that. So they're already kind of moving in that way. But I think LSU and all your big time teams are going to, LSU is going to open with Southeastern or McNeese or Nichols or something like that, just to go ahead and get that game out the way and get a win. Because if they play in Nichols and it's the season opener, fans are going to go. They want to see the team. They play in Nichols in October to 20, whatever. You know what? We're going to go to hunting camp this weekend because they're going to beat Nichols 48 nothing.
Well, I do think there'll be some teams, Tommy, that take the money though. Those marquee games in Dallas or Atlanta or Vegas or whatever that first week of the year. It's a lot of money for some schools. May not be LSU's jam, who knows? But I think there'll be plenty of schools that need the money. Speaking of needing the money, if anybody's got any extra, change in your coffee tray or your cigarette tray or whatever in your car, send it to Northwestern, not Northwestern State and Natchitoches, although they need it probably worse. Send it to Northwestern in Chicago. Tell them why, TK.
Well, and they got to come play Tulane next week down in New Orleans. That's an 11 o'clock kick next Saturday. They fired Pat Fitzgerald, their longtime coach and a great player there that got him to the Rose Bowl in the 90s when Northwestern going to the Rose Bowl was not a thought. They fired him for cause because of some hazing accusations by players or whatever. It was released yesterday. They found out he had nothing to do with the hazing. He did nothing wrong. They settled with 34 players and Fitzgerald, who they owe 70 million,
7-0.
70 million. And he's been a volunteer assistant coach in high school the last couple of years since he got terminated at Northwestern. I hope this leads to him coaching again because what he did at Northwestern with limited resources was amazing. Okay, the
Right.
winning records and the bowl games and the upsets. I hope this dude ends up coaching again somewhere. And he played at Northwestern. He's an Illinois guy. Okay, Chicago loves the Cubs and the White Sox and the Bulls. That's all been documented. But what an admitting story by Northwestern that he did nothing wrong. But 2 years ago, we fired him with cause, which meant they didn't owe him a dollar. Now they owe him 70 million of those dollars.
I mean, like when you lose a case like that, I mean that sets back your athletic program potentially forever. You
Not just
know,
football.
and I mean, look, are there schools out there that can absorb that? Sure, A&M, Texas, yeah, but most can't. And even if you can absorb it, that means you got no extra for anything else. Look, Jay Johnson, and then on a much smaller scale, LSU baseball. LSU baseball's payroll last year that won a national championship was $2 million. It's expected that payroll is going to go up. Well, by the way, that's half of what the University of Texas payroll was and had. Okay. But Jay Johnson is out there actively when he goes and speaks for lunchtime or he goes to make an appearance or whatever. You have to make a donation to the players fund. You know what I mean? To the pot. He's not doing anything for free. And oh, by the way, he's not putting the money in his pocket. He's out there putting the money in the players' pockets. And so my point is to say that when you're Northwestern in Chicago and you've got to pay $70 million because you wrongfully terminated your coach, I don't know how they bounce back from this in a timely fashion, TK.
Well, and then, the people who made that decision, the group or the committee or whatever it was, man, I mean, somebody will take that job when it opens because everybody wants to be a head coach at that level and make a lot of money. But again, I hope Pat Fitzgerald ends up coaching somewhere at the
Oh, he
collegiate
will.
level if he wants to. I hope he ends up
He
getting a
will.
job somewhere, and and because he's always was a straight up guy. He seemed like a cool guy with the
Oh,
interviews I
gee,
remember
good
with.
good coach, and he won at Northwestern. Northwestern. That's all you need to know. That Harvard of the Big Ten. You with the now, and they just They and like I'll be curious to see how this pushes it behind. They've got designs on a new stadium. It's state of the art. It's amazing. I saw it about a year ago. I don't know if this is going to delay any of that. It's incredible,
Well,
but
the other thing, Northwestern, they got a huge endowment, kind of like Duke. You don't think they got a lot of money, but they do.
oh yeah,
I'm not saying they got Texas money or Florida money, but they're not, this is not like it happened to Nichols or Southeastern, okay? They've got some money, but still, it's a blow, and there's going to be a tipping point sooner or later. The money's going to say, you know what, we got to get rid of swimming, we got to get rid of the golf team, whatever it might be, because we just don't have that much cash laying around. And of course, all the faction who supported Fitzgerald and couldn't believe he got fired, now they're laughing, and grinning and saying, see, we told you you did the wrong thing. Or they willing to get behind the athletic program again?
Nichols is going to say, "Hey, stop putting our name in your mouth, Tommy." Um,
Okay, I'll go
last
South
night,
Alabama and somebody else.
last night was the first Brian Kelly radio show of the year at TJ Ribs. I was over there with Casey, and by the way, Brian Kelly on the air gave the Rougarou a shout out. He made the comment about having a general manager and taking some of the responsibilities off his plate when it came. He's like, but I'm still very involved in all the decisions when it comes to the player, selection and what we're going to pay him and all that. He goes, don't think for a minute that I'm just out there at the beach or playing golf or he looks at me and Casey and he goes, and then this is what he said, or at a Ruggaroos game, and then he went and he followed it up with, but I mean, they played at a high level all summer. Congratulations to on the championship. So he
That's
gave
awesome.
us he gave us some love, even though he called it the Ruggaroos.
Hey,
But
what'd they say in Hollywood? I don't care what you say about me, just say something. And he
that's
gave the
right.
Rougarou a shout out there. And by the way, I got it up on the screen. Go to brrougarou.com, get your championship merchandise. So it's still available. And a lot of big things coming for the Rougarou, like you've said, Ronnie. We got till the end of August to toot our own horn and pop off and peacock a little bit, and then we'll turn the page. But some big stuff coming up for the Rougarou.
Yeah, I mean, the middle of September, TK, we'll start announcing player signings. Believe it or not, for 26, we've already signed three or four players from our team last year that'll be returning, and so we'll probably hold off and then make an announcement sometime middle of September once we sign a few more, just to let the fans know some of the guys that are coming back. But anyway, exciting stuff on the horizon. But yeah, that was great that Brian Kelly gave the Rougarou. Not we need to get him to pronounce it correctly, but we'll take it. We'll take it. It's a good first step. Um, uh, uh, I was something else I wanted to say about LSU football that was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, last night it's interesting how I leaned over to Casey at one point and I said, "You could record this radio show and play it back on this date next year, and it would be fine. It would be all the same stuff, all the generalities and the positiveness, and everybody's optimistic, and this is a special team, and love going to work every day. I mean, it's all the same stuff, but." Look, we're going to learn a lot about this LSU football team the first game of the year against Clemson. I mean, and the thing that Brian Kelly pointed out, and because the first question he was asked is, "What have you done different, if anything, preparing for this game versus the past years when you prepared for the first game of the year?" And he said he was much more intentional with what they wanted to accomplish. We talked about winning, being 1-0. He said we started doing game day prep week stuff 3 weeks out instead of 1 week out. Normally you'd have normal like training camp sort of practice and stuff, and then a week before the first game, then you start doing your game week prep and doing it the way you do all 12 games of the year. He said we started further 3 weeks out instead of 1 week out, and we let it be known that hey, we're not going in there dusting cobwebs off trying to, like, we want it 1-0. That is our goal. We're not coming out of there without a victory. And he said those are the two things that they really sort of did differently. Casey told me he was at practice yesterday, and they had 1-0 on all the screens everywhere in the locker room, and everywhere you went, 1-0, and they were playing the music and the stadium noise, whether it be on the practice field in the locker room. They wanted players to get used to the noise because they know it's going to be loud in Death Valley Junior.
Yeah, so 1-0. I had plastered everywhere, and it's well documented. They haven't won a game to begin the season since Joe Burrow was
5
the
years.
quarterback,
Yeah.
and 0-3 with Kelly, and so and this is gonna be a tough game. Everybody I talk to like scratches their head, goes, I don't know if they can win on the road. If the game was in Baton Rouge, yeah, man, I can't wait to put the TV on. I know you'll be over there for the game, but it's going to be an incredible thing. Keep in mind, if they lose the game, the season's not lost. Keep in mind, if they win the game, they win the game. I told somebody last night they could go 11-1. They win that game. I really believe that. If they lose that game, it could be 9-3, 8-4. I mean, it's a all games are big. All games are important. This is really important for LSU in the small picture and the big picture.
All right, TK, tell us about Tremonti's.
Well, first, let's remind people tomorrow morning the radio, ESPN Radio in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Lake Charles, will be live at Pro Dreams grand opening. It's on Burbank. If you look at walk-ons, the original walk-ons in Burbank, look to the left a little bit. You'll see Pro Dreams. We'll broadcast live from there tomorrow, 10 to 12. But we want you to stop by. I've seen some pictures online. This place will be fabulous. They just got a big contract with the College Hall of Fame to be the official
College
memorabilia.
Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they do stuff with the Rougarou, a lot of stuff around here. So come on by and say hello. There'll be a lot of celebrities in the house other than Ronnie and I, but there'll be other celebrities. So come on by tomorrow morning, or certainly give us a listen as we'll be at Pro Dreams grand opening, 3930 Burbank in Baton Rouge, just to the left of the original walk-ons.
Yeah, right there next to the left, the Lit Pizza. 4 p.m. tomorrow is when they have their grand opening, when the doors open to the public. And so it really cool spot. Sports memorabilia. They're the official auctioneer, of sports memorabilia for the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Obviously, they do a lot with the Rougarou. They when you go into LSU football games and you see those booths set up with all the artwork and all the autographed helmets and jerseys. That's Pro Dreams, and they now just signed a contract with in Overland Park, Kansas, with the National College Baseball Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Trey and them on that. So come by and see us and say hello and come check it out. Skip Burtman, Jay Johnson, Pulmonary, all going to be there tomorrow at 4 o'clock for a special VIP signing for, I think, 50 customers. So really cool deal there. All right, TK, tell us about Tremonti's.
Well, 1 week from today, the big meat sale. Everything, prices you can't believe. Save the date next Friday, 1 week from today. I mean, steaks, brisket, whole tenderloins, Wagyu, everything they got. Major sale next Friday. You can load up for the entire football season, load up for the hunting camp, everything you need to do next Friday here at Tremonti's. A huge meat sale. Connect with them on Facebook and Instagram, but we'll tell you all about it for the week coming up as well. All right, so that's Tremonti's next Friday. Come by and get lunch today and talk to them about what the sale's going to be. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Shorts Daily. Like and share this show. We appreciate that very much. On behalf of Ronnie Rance, I'm Tommy Christ. Have a great day, everyone.